Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I'm Mama Loves You GB here on FlossTube, but also over on Instagram and Etsy as well. Welcome to the Sunday morning briefing. It is Sunday the 26th of June, I think. It must be because today's the 25th, so I'm filming on Saturday as I normally would. For those of you who've not been with me long, you'll see that this background means that I'm in the Cotswolds. This is me a few grey hairs ago and a dog ago. It's not through any great self-publicisation, is that a word? Self-promotion that I put it there. It's just that my mum normally has a picture on this wall, which is a big picture, but it's got a glass front to it, and so it just rebounds the light, reflects the light terribly. So this is about the biggest picture that we have that doesn't reflect light. So everyone always says that they like it when it's there. So yeah, his name was Enzo. He was a beautiful dog. I have got so much to show you today and so much to talk to you about. It's gone crazy. I don't know quite how long this video is going to be. You'll know by the time you see it how long I've managed to waffle on for. I've made a few notes. I've sort of put everything in piles, but we shall see. I'm going to start off with just a little bit of a life update. 2 weeks ago, my car got dragged away on the back of a tow truck. My partner was driving it. We literally had 4 cars in which to get 2 adults to work. I was supposed to go with my friend to work, and he let me know on Sunday evening that he had COVID, so that was 1 car out. Our van was still in the garage because it was supposed to be having a new wheel bearing. They couldn't get the wheel bearing out, so it was still in the garage from the previous week. So then we had my car and my mum's car. So I was going to take my mum's car to school. Chris was going to take my car to work and to drop Ness off. I had a phone call at about 9:20 saying, your cars won't go anywhere. I think it's the battery. So I had to get permission to go home from school. Luckily I didn't have any lessons that afternoon, and go and get a new battery. So I went and got a new battery. It didn't work, didn't do anything. So anyway, called the RAC out and basically got taken away, English grammar Michelle, on a tow truck the following day. And then on Monday, it went to the scrapyard. It turned out that the timing chain had broken and totally obliterated the engine beyond economic repair. So it was a BMW that I'd had since 2011 when I got it new. So it didn't owe me anything. It had done its miles, but I didn't particularly want it to break then. So yeah, I'd had 2 days off school this week actually because I had a migraine, and so I was trying to sleep a migraine off whilst trying to sort out with a garage who was going to come and collect my car because it was scrap, and quite what I was going to do and where I was going to get a new car from. So I did manage to buy a new car, a lovely new car. It's a Hyundai Tucson, which I'm very, very happy with, and hopefully it will see me through for the next few years, but I could have really done without that, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, I have got a great many thanks to all of you who've been buying Susanna, not least because I've just had to buy a new car. But she is being so well received, and I'm having so many, sorry, something under the table, I couldn't move my foot. So many comments about her, people loving her, and don't forget you can buy her in hard copy at the Attic in America, and you can also buy her in hard copy at the Patchwork Rabbit. So I have another new chart as well. Now I'd said a couple of videos ago that I really wanted to design a chart to say thank you to the people who've supported me through the Buy Me a Coffee, and my link is down below. And I came up with this one, which I did put on Instagram the other day, and again people just loved it. So this is called marching orders. So excuse me, those of you who watch Brenda and Laura will know that most weeks Laura gets marching orders from Brenda, and it started off on just their channel, but I think the term marching orders has become sort of a common usage in FlossTube and cross stitch for anybody who watches them or watches somebody who uses that term. Marching orders is basically either you deciding or somebody telling you, come on, you just need to get on and finish that. And so I had this idea of doing one of the Queen's Guard, so one of the ones that wear the bear skins, and him marching across the fabric with his sword there, but the sword is actually turned into a needle, and you can see the little reels of cotton there. So this chart, now this chart is not 82 by 88, it's actually 70 by 88. So I have corrected that on the download. And I'm just obsessed with the idea of doing the bearskin in black whisper thread and really sort of fluffing it up. So I've stitched, or I've charted it in DMC colours, but feel free to switch it out for whatever you want, and maybe even put some metallics in if you can stand it. And then you get in the download a black and white copy, and also a really annoying little cough, sorry, a colour copy of the chart. So this you will find on my Buy Me a Coffee. So on the home page, there's an update added there, and it's got the link for this chart, or it's got the web address for the chart. I can't actually put it in as a link that you can click, but you can copy and paste the web address and you can go and download the chart. If you've already supported me on Buy Me a Coffee, you can go and grab it right now. If you haven't already supported me on Buy Me a Coffee, then you might like to, and then you can go and grab the chart. So yeah, I really can't wait to stitch that. I need to dye some fabric. I've got an idea of a particular colour that I want to dye, or at least have a look through my box of fabric to find something particular. So there's that. I have got a finish this week, which if you have seen my Instagram you will know, and I have shown this every week for what seems like an age, but I have finally finished Teresa Kogut's Cherry Jubilee. There we go. And I won't show it for too long because I finally finished it, and you've seen it probably every stitch of the way. So all done and dusted with that one. And so of course I have to start another Teresa Kogut, because I think it is going to have to be a new rule that one should always have a Teresa Kogut on the go. So I have started excuse me, I have started the Patreon mystery stitch along, which is called Strawberry Manor. Now she's released the whole of this chart, and she has actually released this section here, which as you can see is a big red house. I just didn't print out the front cover that's got that bit showing clearly. So I have been dyeing some fabric because I wanted, again, some fabric for this particular stitch along, plus a couple of other things that I'm planning. So this week I've managed to dye some fabric. So this is the first piece, and this is the piece that I'm using for Strawberry Manor. And it's showing not too badly, but it's a little bit more yellow than perhaps it's showing there, probably about there. And I've chosen to stitch mine in the DMC. So this is the DMC. I've left mine a little bit longer than I usually do because I'm stitching this on 32 count, and so I thought I'd just start with the loop method. So those are the colours. Very sort of Teresa Kogut colour palette, beautiful. And this is where I've got to. So the first part is this big house pretty much. There are some numbers, oh goodness me, that is annoying. There are some numbers that go down here, but other than that the first part is pretty much the house. Now the reason I chose to go for the DMC rather than to include the overdyes is because, let me just put this little needle back so it's not going to come out, is because the fabric that I dyed is quite mottled. It's not necessarily mottled in the way that there's lots of lines over it, but it is quite different colours in different places. I don't know how well that is showing up, especially because I haven't really ironed it that well. The light in here is always a little bit funny because there's a big window there, but it does vary quite a lot, so that's why I just wanted to have the plain colours of the DMCs. Now, staying with Teresa Kogut, I've decided to do a Teresa Kogut freebie this week, and this one is called Merry Christmas, and I'm going to put a picture up because it was stitched by a lady, and I didn't catch the name on the website, but she did it on a red fabric and it looked amazing. And because some of us are starting Christmas in July, and I do have Christmas in July plans, I'm going to put a picture up actually here of what I want to start for Christmas in July. And it is the 4 Santas from Just Cross Stitch. I think the magazine issue was in 2012, either 2011 or 2012, but I'll confirm that to you next week when I show it to you. But anyway, this is the freebie. This is the Merry Christmas from Teresa Kogut, and you've got snowmen, Christmas trees, reindeer, Santa, candles, literally everything you could wish for on a Merry Christmas. Now I think that would look lovely as a drum. If you're playing a drinking game, okay, when you watch my programmes, I think it would look lovely as a drum, would probably be quite a good one, because I think a lot of things would look lovely as a drum, but that in particular I think would look really, really great. So I'll put the link down below for you to be able to download that. Now, talking of Christmas, and I've just glanced at my notes to remind myself, talking of Christmas, Friday, 5 p.m, the advent calendars from Patchwork Rabbit will be going on sale. So Friday the 1st of July at 5 p.m, the advent calendars will be going on sale. Now, a little bird has told me that there would also be this year a payment option. So instead of having to spend all the money in one go, there is going to be a payment option. Now, I don't know any more than that, but if you were thinking last year that maybe you didn't go for it because you wanted to spread the cost, then this year go on and check it out and see whether that option is there. Also, they've decided to do it in July this year. I think it came out in either August or September last year, so it was a bit closer to Christmas anyway. But this one gives you a nice 6 months, because technically today, the 25th of June, it is 6 months till Christmas. I overheard a lady telling somebody else that in the shop, and I think she nearly got a slap for it from the other lady. She was not keen on hearing that information. But it's going to be Christmas before we know it. So Christmas in July, what better way than getting yourself one of those Patchwork Rabbit advent calendars. So yes, put a note in your diary, set your phone alarm. So while we're talking about fabric, I have got some other bits of fabric that I want to show you that I've dyed, because you don't just get the dye pots out just for one piece of fabric, you get it out to do a good chunk of dyeing. So this is another piece that I dyed. So this is a, everything's going to wash out a little bit, this is a yellowy piece. Now actually, if the truth be told, this piece, and let's see if I can put them together and whether it will show you the difference between the two. This piece and this piece were actually one and the same. There we go, shows it a bit of difference. And I started to stitch on this paler one for the Strawberry Manor. It's called Strawberry Manor, yes it is. And I just knew it wasn't quite dark enough. So what I did was I put it back in the dye pot. Now I cut it in half first because I decided I really did like this colour, but I just didn't want it for that. So I cut it in half because I knew I'd only need half for the actual stitch along, and I put it back in the dye pot with a bit of taupe. So the colours that I used for this were actually Marigold and Pearl Grey, and then this was the same, Marigold and Pearl Grey, but then I put a bit of taupe over the top of it because it wasn't quite as dark as I wanted it to be. And then I decided that I wanted to dye some fabric for this stitch along, which is starting in the 1st of, or on the 1st of July. This is called Halloween Crystal Ball by Tiny Modernist, and I have got some of the threads here. So Classic Colourworks Rod and Reel, Classic Colourworks Pumpkin Harvest, 2 of those, Weeks Dye Works Pumpkin, 2 of those, and Weeks Dye Works Moss. I need a few more of those, and I'm also going to use there's a little tiny bit there, black silks for you, and probably a white silks for you as well. And 2 years ago, I think, when I did the last Tiny Modernist, I did it on a piece of Elixir by XG Designs, which was like a lovely green fabric that was quite mottled and had lots of like splotches on it, lots of drops on it. And I wanted a similar thing, but in grey. So I thought, well, I'll see if I can dye myself something similar. So again, this was the pearl grey. This is the 32 count as well. So I just did a low immersion pearl grey. And then I took it outside once it had dried. I took it outside, I put it down on the grass, and I've got a spray bottle which gives a very fine spray, but it will also drip from the lid, which I quite like. And I sprayed it with pretty much neat pearl grey to give me these darker splotches. So the spraying technique gives you more mottling, because obviously as you spray it you're putting more dye onto the fabric, but also the little drops give you the mottling. So this is what they're going to look like on this fabric, plus obviously a black and a white. So I haven't decided which side of the fabric I'm going to use yet, whether I'm going to use the side that's got the spray or whether I'm going to use the side that's just got the dots on it as well. It's a subtle difference, but I'll decide when the first part comes out. And the other piece that I dyed was for my Glendon Place. So I also dyed a piece for Steve from Crafty Stitchers, as soon as I bullied him into this stitch along. I'll take this one out. Now this is going to require some thread collection because there is a billion. And as I showed you last week, the reason I got this was because I saw somebody had stitched it on a much darker fabric. I genuinely don't think I would have gone for it on that kind of colour, which was Felspar by Picture This Plus. So I had a go at dyeing for this particular one, and this is what I came up with. So it's again pearl grey. Let's try this side, see what happens. That's a bit better. Now this one's going too dark. There we go, about there. Pearl grey, a little bit of denim blue, and then this green that you can see on there isn't green really, it's marigold. So that very yellowy brown reacting with the kind of grey and the blue. So that is the fabric for this one, Phantom Plantation. And I think it's going to look really, really cool, because that building is quite light. And if it's not as light as it needs to be, then I'll make it lighter. But yeah, I'm edging towards this being, excuse me, a kind of a birthday start at the end of July. Might be one of several. Might start it before then. But that is roughly what I'm aiming for. And then the other thing I've stitched on this week, I had a hankering for stitching on Anngrimshaw. And I put a post out last weekend of me stitching on Anngrimshaw in the car whilst Chris and Ness were fishing. Except I managed to catch Chris looking like he was taking a pee in the lake. And I didn't really clock that until everyone sort of started commenting on the video, saying, is he taking a wee? Is he having a wee? So what he was actually doing was he was doing that man thing that involves a good hour's worth of kind of surveying, making a coffee, throwing a bit of bait out, having a walk around, having a look about, and then yeah, generally spending an hour doing that before you even get a rod out. So that's what he was doing. He was doing the man surveillance. But anyway, gave me some really, really good stitching time, and it was Father's Day, so if he wants to do man surveillance on Father's Day, then he is perfectly within his rights to do man surveillance. So this is my Anngrimshaw. She's disappearing off the screen. It is huge. It is huge. So the bottom row I'd had planned out for quite some time. This side I had these sort of half cartouches planned out, and I had a couple of the letters, and sorry, those are numbers, not letters, a couple of the numbers there. And so I finished off the numbers and sort of started working my way up. Now, the reason I've started working my way up is because I've got a miscount somewhere in this one. So this is one too far down, or yeah, this is one too far down. So what I'm going to try and do is work up with the letters to get to the motifs at the top here, to then get to the top, to then come back down and put this right. There's plenty of space. The good thing about this chart, let me just find it. My working copy all wrapped up in there as well. The good thing about this chart is there's quite a bit of space up here. So I know I've got one missing here somewhere. So if I follow the letters up, follow the motifs up to here, put the top row in, and then I should be about right. Beautiful, beautiful chart. It is huge. It is huge. I think even on 40 count you need a half yard. You might get away with it, but I'm on 36 count, so I've definitely just gone for the half yard. I'm stitching mine on mocha. Well, I'm technically stitching it on vintage country mocha, but that's on the back. So I'm calling this mocha. I'm sure if you just bought Zweigart mocha, you'd probably get this colour. So I just love it. And I'm stitching it with one strand of sulky thread. One strand of sulky thread, which comes in these spools. Now these are the king spools. And one strand of sulky is about, I think it's about 1.5 strands of DMC. They claim it's 2. I don't think it's quite as much, because I sometimes find 2 strands too thick on 36 count, and I love, love, love sulky on 36 count. So that's where I'm at. Now I'm already thinking about when I want to finish Anngrimshaw, because I have been lucky enough to get a place in the Great British Sampler Retreat, which is being run by Nicola Parkman from Hands Across the Sea and 2 or 3 others. And I got my confirmation email last Sunday, so I am beyond excited about it, and have to keep reminding myself that it isn't next weekend. I've got to wait like a year. So part of me thinks that I would love to finish Anngrimshaw at the retreat. So maybe I should do a bit more on Anngrimshaw and get her to a point where I could take her to the retreat and finish her. Because I think what better place to finish her than the retreat? We shall see. We shall see. Right, I've got some plans to show you, which have got a little bit of haul involved. I have got the Fox and Rabbit fabrics of the month, but they only came to me yesterday and I posted them out this morning, so I'm going to leave those right to the very end in case you are a member of the Fox and Rabbit fabric club and you don't want to see the colours yet. So I'll put that there. Plans, some plans that I have. And it's mainly about what I want to release next. I've got a few ideas, but this is something that I want to get on with and do quite quickly. I am lucky enough to have a small collection of red samplers, of red marking samplers, red English schoolgirl samplers. And what I want to do is I want to release them as a little collection, probably with a couple of smalls that I'm going to design. I've got them in my head. I just need to put them onto the charting package. So I'm going to show you the 3 that I've got. I won't tell you too much about the girls. I know about a couple of them, but not all of them. So the first 2 that I want to include are new to me. I'm going to start with this one because she's lovely. Now, I'm not a religious person, as I've said before, but the verse on this sampler really sort of touched me. It was really nice verse. So this is a sampler by May Modridge, and she stitched it when she was 7, April 29th, 1882. So that is her sampler. Now, let me just see if I've got something that I can put behind it so that you can see a little bit better. It's not going to work terribly well. I didn't bring my big board. So I'll show you it in parts. So we've got a few rows of letters and alphabets, as you would imagine. And then this, let me just fold it actually. This is her sentiment. Now, I'm not going to be able to read this without looking at it. It says, "The Saviour has invited the youngest to his love and deigns to smile delighted upon them from above." And I just thought that was such a lovely sentiment to go on a marking sampler from a girl aged 7. I just thought that was absolutely lovely. Now, I do know a little bit about May Modridge, and I know she died in Hackney in the 1950s. The other thing I know about May Modridge is that she can't spell her own name. That's not how you spell Modridge. It is M-O-D-R-I-D-G-E. There's no double D. There's no double D in her name. And I know that because I know a little bit of provenance about this sampler. And I checked the records, there is no Modridges with double Ds, but I can find her with a single D. So bless her, she spelled her own name wrong. And I love that. I love that. So that would be the first one that would be in my red schoolgirl sampler pack. Different kettle of fish entirely. This would be the second one. How dainty is this? Completely different set of text. I think it's quite unusual. You don't see many marking samplers with that italic alphabet. Now, this says M. Hodgson, aged 11, August the 13th, 1858. And this one's actually, it is actually backed. And this comes from Mead School. Now, I haven't had too much luck tracking this girl down at all. Mead School, when you type it in, lots of different things come up. M. Hodgson's quite vague, and we don't know how old she was. So it may come out of the ether, something may pop up about her, but I just loved the simplicity and the kind of grace of this one. It's so elegant, so elegant. And the third one that I want to put in the pack, I have shown you before. She's not new to me. I've had her for a little while. And this is Fanny Lacey. I love Fanny Lacey. I have found her. I can't remember, it's been a while since I looked her up, but I can't remember anything about her. But this is Fanny Lacey, excuse me, 1882. Now she's not completely red. Oh gosh, you can see reflected the general chaos surrounding me. She's not completely red. She's got a little bit of blue, a little bit of grey, and actually a little bit of kind of greeny colour there. But I think she'd make a nice companion for M. Hodgson and our little, let's just try and fold her up, our little May. So my plan is to chart those three and to put them together as a red schoolgirl sampler pack with two other little smalls that I will design, that I've got in my head. So that I think is going to be my next project to get underway, because I just think they're so lovely. What else have I got here? I'll show you those at the end. Now, Stone Street Stitchworks put up a picture of a sampler that she wanted to stitch, and it was amazing. It was amazing. So I asked where it had come from, and it was out of this book, which, as you can tell, I've managed to get hold of a second-hand copy. It's called Traditional Needle Arts Cross Stitch by Katrin Cargill. And as I said, I managed to pick up a second-hand copy. And I'll show you the stitch that made me absolutely shoom to go and get this book. And it's this one. Where are we? There. That one there. I hope you can see, and I hope my fingers aren't over it because I can't see anything. So this is just called House Sampler. And it's just that beautiful big house and all of those windows. I love it. Now, it doesn't come easy, I have to say. This book is a little alternative in the fact that the sampler comes charted over about the next 4 or 5 pages, but I'm just going to flash you this because otherwise you don't know what I mean. But it's in bits. It's not kind of as a chart. I've got like motifs here, there and everywhere. So there doesn't seem to be a massive amount of information about how it really fits together. So I think I'm going to have to do quite a lot of looking at the picture, the stitched picture, and trying to work out where everything comes in. But I loved it. There are some other really, really pretty things in this book. So it's probably the easiest thing to do is to show this double page. Here's some of the other samplers that are in this book. I think I paid about a £5 for this book, maybe £6. And there is also quite a lot of designs for tableware. Now, have they got... No, there's not a big picture that shows all of the tableware in one kind of go. There is. I'm quite obsessed with those peacocks. And the chart for the peacocks is not that one. It is... Well, there is that chart for the peacocks, obviously. But there is also a chart for that peacock on there, which you can't see very well. So I'm going to show you from a very long way back the peacock, the red and the blue. I think that's lovely. So if you get the chance to get this book, if it happens to kind of fall, excuse me, what's about me today? I like Bob Fleming from The Far Show, if anybody remembers that. If this book happens to be available, I would definitely suggest getting it because it's got some lovely stuff in it. So there's that. I also downloaded this. Now this comes from Idyllic Needles on Etsy, and I just thought that was so different. It's called Epirus Horseman Sampler, and it actually comes from a much bigger piece, and the designers have charted and designed a smaller sampler from what is a much bigger piece of needlework. And they also have another one in their shop which I absolutely love, and I'm going to put a picture up here, and it's this big schooner ship, and it looks phenomenal. It looks phenomenal. So it says this sampler was inspired by a fragment of an 18th century bolster cover from Epirus, a region in southeastern Europe currently shared between Greece and Albania. It features a horseman and attendants amid small-scale birds, animals and florals. The cover was part of the furnishings for a bed or a sofa. But the red and the blue I was really attracted to. And as I said, that schooner, I love that schooner. So I thought I'd have a go with this one first, and then maybe the schooner would be in my future at some point. I'll leave that to last because I do have another sampler to show you. Because I shouldn't be left unattended. Right, something a little bit different. I bought this on Etsy, and I'll put the shop down below. It's called Aberris Art, and it's actually a beading kit. Now, the seller for this is in the Ukraine, and as you can see, it has arrived. I was a little bit dubious that it might not arrive, but when I was reading the seller's profile, she is actually selling all her kits at the moment 40% off, and still 25% of what she's making is going to buy body armour. You can just do a donation by purchasing one of her kits and just writing "do not send" on it, and in which case 100% of the money goes towards those troops fighting and purchasing body armour for them. But as I see, it arrived, and then what you get, and I've already put this into a hoop because I wanted to have a go with it, is this design, and then on it there are lots of these little circles, and at the top here is a key for what all the different coloured circles mean, and you just literally stitch beads. So I've started with this little flower. You literally stitch the beads on top of those little circles. Now I'm stitching mine using invisible thread, which is the most hateful thing on the planet. I'm pretty sure that it would look just as good if I chose a corresponding cotton. However, I decided to go with invisible thread. Slightly regretting the choice now, but I'm gonna carry on with it. It's got to get easier. And all the beads came on a card like this, so they're all numbered. I've taken 1 and 2 off, and they're in my little Emma Bridgewater tin. And you literally just sew them onto the fabric. Now, I think I kind of got it in the middle. If not, I'll have another go, but I will be finishing this one as a hoop. So we'll just leave it in the hoop and then fold down and sew in the rest of it. But I just thought that was something a little bit different. I wanted to make, you know, a donation or a payment to somebody over in the Ukraine. I wanted to support them. And like I say, I was unsure of whether it would arrive. I thought if it didn't arrive, then, oh well, at least I've given them the money. But yeah, it did arrive, and I'm really looking forward to doing that and maybe purchasing some more, because it's quite good fun. It's really quite good fun. Right, I think I've got 2 things left to show you. One is another sampler and the Fox and Rabbit Fabrics of the Month. But I'm just going to check just to make sure that I have not missed anything. No, I haven't. So, the same lady that I bought the 2 red marking samplers from messaged me to say that she had another one. Was I interested? And she sent me a picture of it, and it was in a frame, and this is what it looked like. And I looked very carefully at it, and I said, could you take it out of the frame? Because the frame was rubbish. It was just a modern frame. And I was very much hoping, because if you looked at the top, that top border was very, very close to the edge of the frame. And if you looked at the bottom, you could see this bunch of flowers at the bottom seem to finish in an odd place. So she took it out of the frame for me. Lo and behold, this little sampler had been folded. Now I haven't done anything to her yet to try and dissuade her from folding because she's very delicate, but she does have a border all the way around. All the motifs finish at the bottom. Oops. And there is a border going all the way up the side. Now, it's not looking too bad now, but when I first first unfolded it, it still had the sticky tape on. So there is a little bit of yellow kind of residue at the edges where the acid from the tape has kind of eaten a little bit into her. Now this is stitched on the finest of fabric. It's got to be 46 count if it's not more than that. And what she says at the top, it says, but the sweet tear in pity's eye transcends the diamond's brightest beams, and the soft blush of modesty more precious than the ruby seems. And I love these weeping willows with the ducks and the parrots and the fruits, the baskets of fruit, and then there's just these odd little blue flowers, and then this kind of big floral motif at the bottom. Now the colours on the back, now if anybody ever worries about carrying threads, meet the queen of the thread carry. The colours on the back are a little bit brighter, but I would imagine it was quite a greeny and yellow sampler. It's by Teresa Hatcher, March the 10th, 1845. But I just love those birds. Now I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to reproduce her. I'm thinking I may do a modification of her. Just because I'm not sure there's the definition left in that bigger flower at the bottom. There may be once I get into it, but I just loved her, and I was so delighted to find that she had just been folded rather than cut to fit into the frame. So that is Teresa Hatcher. Now, Fox and Rabbit fabric of the month. Now I did also get some stickers, one of which I've just thrown on the floor, but it was essentially that. This is from being in their Patreon. So this is not from fabric of the month, but this is from being in their Patreon. So there was 3 stickers and the one that I've just thrown on the floor. Right, if you do not want to see the colours from this month's Fabric of the Month Club, I will say cheerio to you now. Stay classy, stitchers. If you do want to see, then I will show you what they have sent me. So I'm technically in the Neutrals Club, but they have sent me the coloured one as well this month as well. So this is a beautiful neutral. It is called White Clay. And that's a really good description of it. It's a mostly unmottled or very finely mottled fabric, and I get mine in 36 count, and that is going to be a perfect neutral for some of the sampler reproductions or just anything. It's a perfect pale neutral. Now contrast that with Blueberry. Now I am determined to find the perfect chart for Blueberry. Are you ready? Look at that. I might just frame it and stare at it. Look at that. So it has got the most amazing purples and then blues. This fabric just looks like it was even fun to dye. So if anybody's got any suggestions about what I should put on Blueberry, then please let me know, because I really, really want to know something epic for that. Something epic. And that is everything for now. I will see you next week. Stay classy, stitchers.